Dude, so what do they have in common, by the way?
They are all Asian.
Yeah. Where are they from?
Where are they from?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're all Indian. Wait, did you know that, or was it?
Did I know that they were Indian?
Yeah,
exactly.
by their names.
I had a feeling, but I didn't want to say Indian just in case I was wrong.
Dude.
I didn't want to, I guess, stereotype, question mark?
Oh, no, you forget. You were here last class, right?
I was here last class.
The job is to stereotype, okay? To generalize. The problem is when you take those generalizations and you make negative assessments or positive assessments about people, then that's a problem, man. But making assessments is sociology.
So when I was young, I lived in India for like 4 years, 5 years, somewhere there. And then I lived in Dubai for 3 years. But then after that, for 10 years, I was in Guinea.
Mm-hmm. So what questions do you have for him?
Do you feel immersed in African culture?
Yeah, a lot more than anywhere I lived before that, yeah.
Interesting. What's your favorite food?
So like, that's a tough one because I have dietary restrictions. I'm vegetarian. But I do have a large, like most African dishes are meat-based. But whatever I can eat, I eat. There are African dishes that are vegetarian, like aloko and stuff. But like you were talking about couscous and stuff. But like, yeah, I eat that stuff. But since I have that restriction, I prefer Indian food.
Did you feel different growing up in Africa?
Much less than, like culture shock-wise, I had a much less culture shock going into Guinea than I had coming to the US. Because I lived here now also for like 4 years. I've studied here. And it's just that I feel like, I don't know, like I won't say in general African people, but I would say Guinean people are very welcoming. Americans are also very welcoming, but it's different with like Guinean people. They really like, they with you. Like, if they're white, they're white. Like,
Would you say India and Africa is more similar than Africa and America?
100%, 100%.
I see that.
That's a really good question.
I originally thought you were Middle Eastern. Do you say you're Middle Eastern, or
Was it the sweater?
No, I think it's the beard.
it's the face?
That's what I always get.
Yeah.
But no, I always say that I'm originally Indian, but born and raised in Dubai, because that's still a pretty significant part of my identity. And so, but I wouldn't say that I'm actually Emirati or Arab.
There's a lot of forced labor in Dubai from Indians and people generally from South Asia. How do you feel about living in a city where there are a large population of people who built the city are Indian, but had their visas and their passports taken? Like, does that weigh on you when you live in the city, or is that sort of?
Or just what do you know about?
What do you know about that? How does that affect you?
So I know quite a lot about that. I live in the older parts of Dubai, so a lot of laborers are over there. We get to interact with a lot of those kind of people. And in fact, it truly is horrible, because I'm not going to go into too much detail, but essentially there are certain labor camps where they don't have their passports, they don't get paid for months, and it's pretty horrible. So we try and do the best that we can. My family we're part of like a friend group, and there are many community service groups. So growing up, the first Friday of every month, we would go to one of these labor camps, and then we'd prep bags with lentils, oil, all of these kind of essential items, some snacks as well, and then give it out to these labor camps. It is quite bad, but we try and do the best that we can to support them. And on top of that fact, my family really pushes the ideology of giving back. And so obviously there are loads of construction workers, especially in the summer. It's really hot. And in those times, my family likes to, just on a weekend when we're outside, we might get a couple of bottles of water or, I don't know, refreshing drinks, snacks, and just give them out to these laborers, because we know how much they have to go through, and it's just something small that we can do to support them.
The Arabs in the UAE, how did they see you?
I wouldn't say too differently. So, as you must know, visiting Dubai, there are lots of expats or immigrants, essentially, and they are pretty much used to the high volume of international people. So it's not like they treat me any bad or anything. And in fact, like...
No, but treating you like, do they assume, do you feel welcomed in the culture? Do you feel like can be part of the culture?
Most definitely, yeah. Arabs in general are very hospitable.
Yep.
I personally don't have, like back home, I don't have many Emirati friends specifically, but I do have a lot of Arab friends, and like some of them are like Lebanese and stuff. And so I always feel very welcome whenever like they often invite me to their houses and stuff like that, and everywhere. I feel in general, I feel very welcome, because that's just kind of the environment that exists within Dubai or the UAE. Everyone gets along with each other. There's a lot of diversity, but I would say, unlike America, where it's considered as a melting pot, everyone over there celebrates their own culture and celebrates together.
It's kind of living. You're like, it's like a salad. We say it's kind of like a salad bowl, right? Yeah. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah.
When do the two of you, do you and Darsh have something in common that you just don't, that you recognize in your mind on a regular basis that's different than Joshika? What is it? Joshika. With the H. Joshika and Arth. When you think about these two people and him, and Sid also, do you feel like, do you have a certain affinity to him?
He mentioned he's Sindhi. I'm Kachi. He's my neighbor from India. Like, a lot of our cultures are similar.
But how about, you grew up outside of India and outside?
I think I agree with him on like the aspect that I don't think I lost my Indian identity either. Mm-hmm. In Guinea, it's similar to like what you were saying. It's like what you also pointed out. It's like a salad.
Yeah.
It's not like America where you're trying actively to mix the cultures. Yeah. Of course, I would celebrate their culture, and they would happily, like, we played Holi in my high school, and my high school was in Guinea, and I enjoyed Tabaski and stuff, their festivals, but it wasn't like we were trying so actively to do so, right? Like how it is in the US. So I still have that Indian identity pretty strongly in me, I think, like what you were describing, but I also adopted a few things from my Guinean friends.
But do you see yourself, do you see yourself as different than Jessica and Arth? Like to what degree are you different and how?
I'm not sure about Arth, but Joshika, I guess. Since Joshika is born and brought up in India, I think she has, from my assumption, less exposure to a lot of other parts of the world. Especially, I think she does not have much exposure, I think, to Western African culture.
You would assume that.
I would assume, like, as in, from what I know about Indians, they would have exposure to white culture to a great extent. They would have exposure to even, like, this rising, like, Japanese culture with anime, but they would not have any exposure to West African culture. So I'm assuming she would not know much about that area of the world.
Is that true?
That is true. I have no idea.
And there's no reason you should, How about Arth? What do you think about Arth?
So Arth, did you grow up here, you said, or you were just born here?
I was born in New Jersey, and then I shifted to India when I was 4. My parents are from India, like all my heritage is from India.
So you lived your whole life in India?
Yeah, basically.
So I would assume the same thing as Joshika for him, but I know they are pretty different between themselves because they come from different parts of India. So I think the environment that he grew up with, though they are both from like big cities, like Bangalore's attitude towards adapting, I think, to like learning new cultures, learning new language is a lot more liberal and open in comparison to like, I don't know, I'm not going to say he is like that, but like the general culture in Pune is more conservative. Just like Sindhi area and like Kutch area. That's the difference, I know.
Okay, so, all right. What are you hearing? So you're hearing this conversation with these 5 Indians, okay? Indian American, Indian African, Indian Middle Eastern, right? What are you hearing?
The different places you guys have grown up have had an effect on you and who you are as people, and how you view other people as well.
And when you meet someone who's Indian, like from now, like you're going forward, right? You're a freshman here, so you're in engineering, so you got a lot of Indians in your classes, okay? What do you hear? What window shade? What veil is lowering for you? Like, what kind of questions do you have now that maybe you wouldn't have had an hour ago?
I guess I didn't know India was so different from place to place, which I guess it makes sense. Most places are different from where you go, like north, south, east, west.
Stephen from England says, do you experience a culture shock when you came to the U.S.?
A moderate amount, because I've been visiting since I was a child, so it's not an extremely new environment for me. But definitely staying here for a long period of time, I would say.
What's the most difficult thing to get used to?
I would say just how friendly everyone is, especially like when I came to the US. That's not a thing back home. No one opens the door for you. It's not like a good morning, how are you, casual conversation. And that was something I had to get used to when I came here, just to be friendly and so that I don't come off as rude or mean.
What was the most difficult part of what has been for you of coming back to the United States and being here at Penn State? What's the thing that, not the most difficult, what's the thing that's just most notable for you?
Probably like everyday like interactions with people that I don't know. Like it's not like in India, you don't really make conversation, like little talk when you're like in an elevator or like opening the door for someone. Like that doesn't really happen in India. So people are a lot more friendly here. It did take some time to get used to. And also crossing the road over here for me is a bit strange because like in India, I can just like walk onto the road whenever I want, just cross wherever I want. There's no like, I mean, there are traffic rules, but like, you know, no one really cares. Like,
yeah.
So over here, I don't know when to walk past a car, when to like let them go. So it's a bit challenging.
Yeah.